What's up, everybody? It's Joe La Puma. You were watching the Complex Sneakers podcast. As always, I'm joined by my two friends, my two co-hosts. To my right, Mr. Matt Welty.
Here we are. Busy day.
Busy day. To my left, Mr. Brendan Dunne.
What up?
Got the polo starch today. We were just talking about starch. No, he didn't starch.
Didn't put any starch on there.
Chris Polo. How we doing, guys?
Wonderful. I had a great weekend. I was in Matt Welty's ancestral lands.
Oh, in Jersey, yeah.
You gave him the pass?
I mean, he didn't even let me know.
Oh, okay. You didn't check in?
Guilty as charged.
Okay, he didn't check in. All right. Do you require people to check in when they come to Jersey City? Like,
You were in Jersey City or you were just in New Jersey?
Yeah, I was. I think that go-karting place, RPM, is in Jersey
yeah.
City, right?
Wait.
I'm a member now.
wait, the like real
High-speed
go-karting place?
go-karts.
You think I'm not going to do real go-karts? You think I'm going to do
Well,
the
there was
kiddie,
another.
the
There was
junior
another
stuff?
one. There was another one that I was looking.
There's a gigantic new one that just opened that's like the biggest indoor one in America or in the world or something like
They have
that.
to vet your driving record before they got you on the track.
No, they let me on, and I'm a member now. So, yeah, I was in Jersey.
Okay.
Went to Rutt's Hut, did a little Glizzy
Famous
tour.
place, yeah.
Yeah.
Let them know the Glizzy Gladiator is back.
I didn't get the Welty. Do you know what the
Ripper?
the Ripper, the Dipper, the Flipper, whatever
There's
it's called? It's called the
Ripper,
Ripper.
and then there's a cremator.
Were you with Justin Ballas? Is that why you were on the food tour?
No, he wasn't invited.
Okay. Well, see ya.
What's the Ripper?
The Ripper's just a fried hot dog.
Incredible. And I assume you've had it.
Yes. And then a cremator is the fried, not like breaded fried, just like thrown in the fryer. So it like splits on the seams. And then a cremator is like that, but like put in longer. So it's like basically black.
Ooh, I don't like the blackened Glizzy. I'm gonna skip that one.
No.
What'd y'all do this weekend?
I was away. I was traveling. Went to Austin, Texas for South by. It was really good. One thing I will say, though, at JFK, going through security, got stopped.
Yeah, of course, by a
And-
fan.
No, not by a fan.
Oh,
by
by TSA. Okay.
Yes. Coming home, also got stopped at the Austin airport. Got screened twice.
Random selection.
Random selection, but no, it must not have been random because like something set off the
Cuban link was shining too
no
hard.
the detector. Is that the right word?
Yeah.
The first time in like maybe 5 or 6 years of traveling, and I like wore the same stuff that I always wore. Besides,
Tiffany Air Force Ones.
nope, the Bam Bams. Did our boy Aaron put something in?
The Action Bronson New Balances.
Yeah.
Some
There's
hidden gems in there.
Some- Exactly.
There's an actual shank on the shank.
No,
The
is there like
copper?
a hidden something hidden in there? Because the first time in years I got stopped both ways, but I wore those all weekend. All
Do
weekend.
you think Tiffany Air Force Ones are getting through?
TSA
Yeah.
because of the Tiffany piece of silver on the back there.
I don't know.
Alexander
yeah.
should have thought that one through.
I wore those Action Bronsons all weekend. Love them.
Did you put in more steps than Brendan Dunne did?
No way. Respectfully, no.
I checked.
Did
I hit like 7,500 each day. You had that beat, right?
I was doing 28 each day.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, 28,000 is a lot. Sometimes I think my PR is probably like a 17,000 one. 28,000 is crazy. What were you wearing?
No half steppers. The Bronsons.
Oh.
This was when I was in Japan.
Oh,
not this
okay,
past
yeah.
weekend.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah, yeah,
okay.
yeah,
Did
yeah,
you, speaking of Tiffany Air Force Ones all the time, did you guys see that meme over the weekend where the guy had the pliers and he said time to go to the pawn
I
shop?
saw that.
Yeah.
I saw
I mean,
that.
you know what I'm doing with that. We spoke about it on FSR already.
Oh,
You're
yeah.
melting it down, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll leave it at that. I saw Teddy Santis this weekend.
You did?
Yeah, he was out on Mulberry Street.
Did he recognize you?
I mean, I said what's up, and he was like, "Yeah, what's
You
up?"
guys
Brendan?"
chop it up?
He was on the move. Busy
Did
man.
you hit him with the line that you had proposed to say to him originally on Brendan?
I never.
Yes, you did.
It's like a classic like thing he doesn't let go of.
Yeah. You mean lie?
No, it's not a lie. 'Cause it's on
This
camera.
is not quite a lie.
I know
This
this is
not
on
quite a lie.
camera.
No, I didn't. Do you want to explain it all? You just want to bring
Wow.
up something from 4 years
Came
ago?
to a
and then not
screeching
have-
halt.
No, there was a time where Brendan said he was boycotting going in the ALD
Oh,
store
right,
because
right.
they didn't show him any like respect, and his
think he
line
was
was,
kidding,
"You
though,
know
right?
who?
Thank you.
You know who the F I am."
Yeah, Teddy and Pecos, you'd be searching for him in Queens somewhere if he did that, right? Okay.
That's the actual.
forbid.
That's the actual reason he'd be in Jersey because he'd be somewhere in the Meadowlands.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Tell him under the field with Hoffa.
I don't know if we want to get into it now, but one thing I would say, we had a little bit of back and forth about the Tiffany's and the top 10 where they're going to land. One thing that I would say, a unanimous shoe that it feels like
I'm with you
is
on this
going
one.
to be on the top 10.
Jordan 4.
Everyone was talking about the
SB
Jordan.
Air Jordan 4.
That's what I mean.
Air
collaboration.
Jordan 4 this
Have you
weekend, yes.
have you
Got it?
no come like full 180 on it? Joe?
Me?
Yeah.
I never.
Well, it's a white shoe. I think that's why
It's a white shoe.
Yeah.
That's the only
That's
thing.
what I mean.
That's
At
the
first,
other
you were like,
Pine
oh, this
green.
is the colorway.
Right. And so, yes, I like it. I still do not like it for me. I didn't get the reimagined 3s, and I didn't get those white and green 4s, but great shoe. Everyone who has it says like
look
it's a
awesome.
great shoe. They look awesome.
More flexible.
Yeah, the fact that they went back in and retooled it a little bit and made some changes to the upper so it's not just a colorway slap with the logo on the back. You know, I really appreciate that. Even though I, of course, will never be skateboarding in them, like that's a cool extra mile to go because you really don't have to do that extra stuff if you're SB or Air Jordan.
Yeah.
You could just make an SB Air Jordan 4, put the logo on the back, do a new colorway, and it'll sell out regardless. So the fact that they did that extra stuff, I think, is laudable.
There is something about it where I know a lot of people aren't going to do it, but I did see it. I mean, you see a lot of people skating in the shoe, and it does feel nice. I'm not here to say you have to skate to wear the shoe.
Right.
It's nice that people are using it as like a performance skate shoe to some degree and seeing that more commonplace than just everyone just keeping them super precious.
Yeah. Did y'all see the chaotic release at this skate shop in DC on U Street? This is Crush Skate Shop dropping SB Air Jordan 4s.
I didn't. It was
they
like
had they had a recent collaboration, right? Crush.
I think so.
And they handled it the way that you guys were talking about, and even like Matt from corporate about like first come first serve, like basically campouts and stuff like that. And then it obviously resulted in
it looked
chaos.
pretty chaotic. But I
Yeah.
talked to our friend Abdul, who's in DC quite a bit. Lives down there, and he said that the images on social media weren't really an accurate portrayal of how the release went.
really. Okay.
I think it's tough too for skate shops, talking to owners over the years where I don't want to like give them just like a blank pass on like a bad shoe release, but I also feel like skate shops, unless they're like one of like the ones that kind of blur the line between boutique and skate shop, aren't always like equipped to handle these sort of things.
I agree with you.
They may get 3 shoes a year that require them to have some sort of like release protocol or deal with this, where it's like the majority of people who come in and shop there and work there are just skate kids, and skate shops obviously aren't as high volume as sneaker stores are, just a slower business. So it's like when these things happen, it's like they may not have the infrastructure or the learnings from past releases.
Yeah,
to-
and
to-
one
to
thing I would
handle
say
it.
about this release, I was talking to a skate shop owner. They said 2 things. One, that and I don't know, you guys give me your assessment of this. They said that like the entries and the hype for these shoes, I was like, can you compare it to one like in like recent years? And he was like, probably the only one that was maybe bigger.
Chunky Dunky?
No, the Travis SB.
Oh,
And I was like, wow. And I guess that makes sense. But like that was, how long ago was that at this point? Like
3 years ago.
3
now,
years.
3 or
And he
4,
was
yeah.
like, that one, it reminded us of that. And then the other funny thing he said is that people winning the raffle, and I don't know if you guys ever heard of this, people winning the raffle were coming to the store and being like, hey, I won the raffle. And thought that when you win the raffle, you get the shoes for free.
Oh.
Have you ever heard of that?
No.
And I was like, oh, does that happen a lot? And
I think I remember that early on when like they first introduced raffles. People thought they're like, oh, I won the shoe.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, you still have to buy it.
What I like about that 4 though is like you hold it and you're like, this is a really good shoe. This is a great shoe.
The
Especially-
raffle thing puts it in such perspective of how many hoops we have to go through to appreciate this stuff in this hobby, where you are entering for the opportunity
Yes.
to spend your money, the opportunity to give the company your money.
And apparently, like they were like, "Oh, I won the shoe," and they didn't realize they had to pay for it. And then they're like, "Oh, I'm okay on it." So,
Yeah.
interesting.
So I was looking at the release details before Crushed in DC dropped these. By the way, like I said, it's there on U Street. You saw the jumbo slice place right down. That's how you know.
Yep.
But Abdul said that it was a lineup and you could get a ticket so you can purchase a shoe, not a first come first serve, which I think on their Instagram they had said it was first come first serve.
Got it.
And again, this is from our friend Abdul, and I trust him. He said, as far as raffles go, Crushed has been the most fair in selling than any other place I've ever been to. He says he doesn't get a hookup there. That's just an objective thing. And I was a little bit surprised actually when they first said it was going to be a first come first serve release. We talked about this here on the podcast a few weeks back, where we had reported on this new Nike North America product launch policy.
Yes.
And there's this distinction made between general release product and high heat product. This is definitely a high heat product. And in there are rules about like basically you shouldn't release a high heat product in a first come first serve manner. There should be a draw around it because we know there's going to be chaos. You know, we know there's going to be fallout. And like Welty said, I think it's unfortunate because these stores get these rules from the brand, and then the expectation is they're going to spend the money or have the infrastructure in place to be able to handle this stuff.
It's like, you're going to help me do it?
Right.
Yeah, like
skate shops. I feel like, 'cause I said skate
pay to
shops
hire security, things like
are
that.
the least equipped because it's like a twice a year thing that they have to do. And I know we had a discussion about it, but it's tough with these like release protocols because I always feel like SB and skate shops has always been this outlier to Nike,
I agree.
to Nike SB, where it's not like screw you Nike, but they don't have to play by the rules because that's not like their Monday through Friday business. But they also have like I don't want to say like a leg up on Nike, but if a SB shop releases a shoe in a way that Nike doesn't find suiting to them, the skate shop's going to say, well, what are you going to do? Are you going to pull my you're going to pull my account?
I mean,
Because
they could.
they could, but it's tough for them because they're just going to have to allocate the shoes to someone else.
Yeah.
But Nike has to be in these core skate shops. It's not like you take the shoes from like one sneaker boutique or like just one Foot Locker or whatever and put it somewhere else. It's like
You feel like they need those accounts to validate them.
Yeah, just like the cool factor.
yeah, they can't. It's always been like the kind of the rule for. It used to be the rule where you can't sell the SBs like out of skate shops. That was always the rule for SB like early on, where there were some stores that had accounts and they put like a skateboard in the corner just to like satisfy like the skate factor of it.
That's interesting. So part of my naiveness,
Yeah.
but no, like tier 1 got them, or they did.
This shoe, I don't
Yeah.
know. I think this one maybe.
Like with like a concepts and a kith, and like,
I don't
Oh
know.
no, they
Concepts,
did.
for sure.
They definitely did.
This went
They
beyond
definitely
it, but
did.
I just think the SB business in general, it's like over one release, it's like you're not gonna like pull an SB account from like a core skate shop.
I would hope not.
Yeah,
because it's like
yeah.
where else are you gonna sell the shoes?
I would hope not, but in their rules, they make
No.
it very clear, like
Yeah.
this is one of the things that we can't do. And this is just so you know their rules on first come first serve distribution for a high heat product. They say high heat launch product. This is part of Nike's North America launch policy. High heat launch product sales may only be made available to consumers on a first come first serve basis when distribution through random drawings, that's a raffle, is otherwise impractical or infeasible, and only one first come first serve distribution can be conducted in an orderly manner. This didn't look remotely orderly to me,
Yeah.
but again, our friend Abdul, who
Yeah.
knows this stuff well, says that it wasn't as chaotic as it looked. I haven't reached out to the store to ask.
The other thing I've heard from skate store owners over the year, where one of their frustrations, like it's like you appreciate the business, 'cause
Sure.
it's money in your pocket, but you're spending the resources to go through all of this, and I don't think people realize that like skate shops get like allocated like so much like fewer shoes of these like high heat releases than like if it's like a retro Jordan at a Foot Locker or whatnot. They're
Of
like
course.
they're like like a Ben and Jerry comes or something like that, and they're like, oh, we only have 16 pairs. It's not like, and then they get 10,000 raffle entries for 15 pairs of shoes.
Yeah.
It's so disproportionate. But on top of that, being that they're more of like a niche business, that 98% of the people who are trying to buy the shoes from them aren't even going to be customers
Right, that's not your Monday to Friday customer.
Right.
afterwards. So it's like, it's not like saying screw you to the person who's trying to get the raffle, but I feel like skate shops have less like motivation to try and like satisfy all the people. It's totally in the skate culture to be like, you don't like the way I do this, screw you, you know? But they don't feel like they need to like, I'm not saying they don't need to make it fair, but they're not losing money from someone who's
Less
not
incentive for them.
who's not going to shop there anyways. And then when another high heat release comes, those people are still going to come to the shop anyways. I'm not justifying bad behavior, but it's just like probably such a headache for them to deal with that's the easiest way out for them.
I always side with the retailers on this thing. To me, Nike needs to be giving them more infrastructure, more support on releases like this. And I don't know to the extent to which they did that for Crush. The other thing is you see these chaotic scenes, and again, Abdul's telling us it wasn't as crazy as it was, but like this is what we had to go through to get shoes back in the day. This was a real thing, that we've been to. We've been to lineups and had things go left, Like I think a lot of people who are buying shoes now are used to just buying them online and never had to go through that.
One thing like this is reminding me of, I actually went into a skate shop in Austin, No Comply, shouts to them, and it was like days after the release or whatever, but like people were still talking about the Jordan 4, but I loved it because like a little kid came in and his trucks were busted, and he was like, oh man, I just like busted my trucks, and like they were like, hooked them up and like redid, like, you know, and captured the essence that this guy's talking about, right?
That's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, a young Matt Welty kickflip. Could you do a heel grind?
A
though?
heel flip? Yes.
He's about to check you right
I learned
now.
heel flips before kick flips. But
Heel flips is easier than kick flips.
it depends.
Okay.
It's like I don't know.
I couldn't do either.
Who are you to judge?
Yeah, I couldn't do either. So I could barely ollie. Let's be honest.
Joe, there was another discussion I found my way into from the full size run episode around the Jordan 4 over the weekend, which I thought was a thing close to your heart where you may have good input on.
Okay.
So on
Let's
the
hear it,
on the
and I'll decide of that.
no
but
on
let's hear it.
on the Marlon Wayans episode, we
Yep.
were talking about the Jordan 4s,
Yep.
and he asked me, "What's your favorite Jordan 4?" And I said, "Black Cement." That's my favorite Jordan 4. And then
Yeah.
I saw multiple comments of people being like, worst takes to Welty for calling them the black cements.
Yes.
They're like, these are the Breads, duh. Don't you know that?
I've made that mistake. I've made that mistake on
not a
sneaker shopping. I
mistake.
think
It's
I
not a
got the same.
mistake.
But wait, so
no, but that's what the name of the shoe.
well, people, I always say breads,
Oh, you say Breads. Yeah.
but I
But
think it's
black cement is totally acceptable.
okay because I've made that mistake, and people I think roasted me in the comments for one episode, and then I think
Those
I've
people
always,
are being too prescriptive.
okay.
But that's like one of your favorite shoes of all time, so I just didn't know
I
where
say
you
breads.
But remember, there was
But
a
I say
pushback.
Black Cement 3. Black Cement 3 obviously is the but
Well, you wouldn't call it a Bread 3.
No.
You know, so
But do you
That's
remember
true.
this pushback when Jordan Brand was first using the term bread in official capacity?
it was on the 11, right? They went to celebrate it. It was when I forget the year that the 11s came back,
The
right?
black and red 11s, yeah.
and they used it was like a celebration of bread, basically.
Yeah.
within the
And there's a bunch of original Air Jordan collectors, OG heads who
they hate the term.
feel like the term bread is not appropriate for a brand to use.
When I first came to work at Complex, and it was still Russ Benson and Nick Engvall running the sneaker vertical. I remember it was
Shouts
like
to
a lot of
them.
the lists of like 10 signs you're a newbie sneakerhead or just got into shoes. And one of them was, I think at the time that they used to kind of deride always was that using the term bread. But this was like 2012,
Yeah.
2013.
Times have changed.
And at that time, it was like if you use the word bread, everyone would be like,
And just in case people don't know, it's a portmanteau. It means black and red
yes.
bread.
Yeah, you know, I'm pretty like I have like a good threshold for like memes and stuff like that. But I will tell you, when they were doing like the breads in the supermarket aisle or like
the
things,
shoe,
yeah,
that's the infamous. That's the
I
infamous.
hated that.
OG
I hated
sneaker
that.
beam. The
it was a little
slippers.
too close. It was a little too close to my favorite Jordan 4. I didn't like that.
You never did the Oreos, stepping on some Oreos?
I almost did the
pouring the milk
with
on
the-
them?
No, but even that, I was like, all right, not my thing, but like I get it. It's internet fodder. But when they were doing the breads, I was like, stay away from the bread 4.
Where do you stand on it, Brendan, for the 4s?
Calling them a black cement or a bread for?
Yeah,
I don't care.
doesn't matter.
Yeah, I come from a school of descriptive linguistics, so I'll let people use the language how they want.
Look at
and
that.
We'll describe that.
Look at that.
What do you refer to it as?
I would probably call them bread fours in this day and age.
Me too.
Yeah, I think I would save myself some time, save myself a couple syllables. You know, I'm a busy man, so any extra efficiency in my day gives me more time to serve up these scoops.
Take a couple bars off, you know?
I think for me, it's like, I don't mind
Let
the
just live.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't mind the term bread, but sometimes I just like referring to things as like the colorway.
Sure.
So are you going to keep saying black cement?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
are
give
you,
him the pound.
oh, we missed it.
Oh,
That's
give him
why I
the
love it. You can roast them in the comments. You think it's going to...
Yeah.
Me, I say black cement. I get one comment, and it's like, all right, from now on,
Change
it
your
is
whole
the
life
bread.
up.
From now on, it is the breads. Dave Matthews removed black cement from anything. This guy gets a worse take. He goes right back to
Well,
it, right?
I think the first time that the nicknames lingo started to come up for me, where I was like, I don't know if that's what you'd call it, or was when working in the store and the white and red 12s came out.
This is a Foot Locker?
Yeah, and this is 2009, 2010.
Cherry?
Yeah, and people were calling them the Cherry 12s, and that was like the first time, but it was kids who were like younger than me at the time, and I think a lot of people on Nike Talk were like, they're not cherry, it's like white and red, you know?
Dude, a lot of these social mores when it comes to sneakers and guidelines and standards were established on Nike Talk and maybe have dissolved since we moved away from talking about sneakers on there.
Isn't it funny though that like for the longest time it always felt like there was these like hard and fast rules like
Yes.
established on Nike Talk, and if you went outside of that you were going to get roasted on the internet.
I
and,
love
like,
that though, because I give all props to Nike Talk.
Of course.
I give props to Nike Talk for like establishing that, you know, the nicknames, but also I always say it, the wit on Nike Talk, the wit that the people who are on Nike Talk, the wit that they have transferred over to social media. Sometimes, I mean, most of the time, so witty. Sometimes when they're coming at you, you're on the you're on the other side. You're on the other side of it. But the wit that Nike talk, all the people that were on it that built, awesome.
I know we mentioned on here, but you had to have thick skin to be on Nike Talk because you were gonna get
No matter what.
chewed up,
No matter what.
spit out the back end.
Can we talk about another SB release? This is one I'm personally excited for.
What's this?
Supreme
Oh yeah,
Nike SB Dunk Rammellzee
Rammellzee
set.
Looks good. It looks good.
The highs and the lows. The lows kind of look like a puss head thing almost.
Okay.
With the blocking and the black on it. To me, the high is the one. The white and gum sole, as we've mentioned here and elsewhere, always looks good. This is such a special one. I'm such a huge fan of Rammellzee, his work. I mean, the Red Bull exhibit that they had in New York a few years back was so incredible.
and if you're not familiar with him, go watch Style Wars.
Yeah, or Wild Style. I remember the Star Wars 20th anniversary DVD box
Had
set
that too, yep.
had like a really long interview with him, and that just blew my mind as a teenager. And I think there's some really cool connections here too. He was, I think, the first artist that Supreme ever collaborated with, way back, and they did a capsule with him more recently. And also, like,
James Jebbia was a big fan of his.
yeah, I think James Jebbia also was a big patron of his, buying his art and things like that. And in the original Supreme store on Lafayette, that same artwork that appears on the Supreme Rammellzee SB Dunks was hanging in the store. So there's a lot of just cool connections there, and I'm quite looking forward to this one.
They brought back the little the lace locks too. Is that what they are? The lace locks with like the Supreme?
I think it's one of the better Supreme, not dunks, just like shoes.
Collab.
Yes, one of the best Supreme
in a minute.
Nike collaborations in years. In my
I'm
opinion.
still like on the fence lately. I don't know what it is, but it feels like there's like something, not with this shoe per se, but just overall. There feels like there's something off with like how they make dunk highs nowadays. I don't know what it is. There's just something like this midsole or something like looks.
the shape looks a bit alien to you.
I don't know. There's just something like all the dunk highs that I've seen come out just look different than dunk
we should
lows.
do a comparison or something.
I don't know why,
Yeah.
but I remember seeing that when like Concepts did that like turducken
Yeah,
dunk.
totally forgettable shoe.
There was like something off.
I
about
saw
it.
somebody wearing those downtown, and I was like, "Wow, we never needed that sneaker." Also, I like this new set of Supreme Rammellzee collabs because this is so much more interesting to me than like the starry versions. They did the lows with the stars on them. That was a reference to the old. I'm like, let them.
Overpaid for those.
You got the lows?
Yeah, the black ones.
I think those are so
How
unnecessary.
how frustrated? I mean, were you or people in general? Everyone thought that like
It was the
the
what?
pandas, and you spent like $1,000.
Did people
on
really think that?
No,
No, but there's a lot of people who see those and
right, but
Just
I have-
assume it's
I
So
have-
are you going up to the? It's like that meme where it's the two people at the urinal, and the one person walks over to the. They're standing at the urinals way far away from each other, and Joe walks all the way over and says, "By the way, these are not Panda Dunks. They're
I
actually
have
the
a-
Supreme SB Dunk low with the stars on that reference the old highs."
or it's the guy with the blurred vision.
I haven't worn those,
Yeah.
but I definitely like overpaid for those.
How
Maybe
much?
I need to bring them out. I don't remember, but it was like a lot. It was like one of those. I think I was shooting in LA, and I was like looking at them. I was like, I like these. And then the third day, I was like, I really like these. And then by the fifth day, I was like, whatever. So, but yeah, these look good. These dunk highs. I could see you on the Brooklyn Bridge recreating that photo of you in the vintage. What was it? UNLVs. In those, you put the little. You keep those carpet
It was
pants on.
it was a St. John's, I think.
Maybe we do the human-made ones because they're a little bit more of a gum color, and it
Wow,
matches
you're
the
designing
gum
the whole outfit for me
Yeah, I
right
got
now. I
it.
really appreciate that, man.
Yeah. Did you get your threes yet?
They're supposed to be coming this week.
Okay, because if not,
Reimagine white cement Air Jordan 3.
Yeah.
I hope you get the one with the.
Before you get the bag
Nothing
QC.
Yeah.
It's
No,
crazy.
I
I
don't.
put it out there. Someone hit me up, and there was like a lot of discussion about this. But they had a messed up pair of 3s,
Mm-hmm.
and the production dates were different on the shoes.
On the left and the right shoe.
Yeah. So the left shoe, and I don't know if this means that they were made differently, but the left shoe was like, say it was October 10th to December 12th or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then the right shoe was the same start date but a different end date.
Somebody messed up on these.
And so they
What did the sneaker look like?
they were the ones that were screwed up. It was like the different cement prints.
Okay.
So they had the same start production date, but a different end production date, which leads me to believe that they were made at different times because you wouldn't have changed the number on it,
Yeah,
like in the
yeah,
middle
yeah.
of like stamping things on. But I don't know Nike's exact like production process, but I guess maybe you make all the lefts and then I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I hope your pair is clean.
Yeah, just odd, you know.
Yeah.
I hope you get a plus pair. Fraser Thought was hitting me about the quality control. I said, listen, call Tinker Hatfield. Fraser. Yeah, he actually
Brendan.
could. He actually could. And go check out that interview with Joey Harrington. I told Dunne a little nugget when he said that he interviewed Tinker Hatfield and Joey Harrington. Our boy Rudy Calderon at the finish line
Of
Yao Ming
getting
fame, of
stolen
course,
fame,
had
yep.
the Detroit Lions Joey Harrington authentic jersey because it was like one of the first years they did like the light blue with the silver, size 56. It was down to here with the fitting. and he had the white with the Lions blue swoosh Air Force Ones, and I'm sure PG knows probably has some. He got to do a dump of get these vintage Air Force Ones. But Rudy had the whole fit, the jersey, the Joey Harrington. Was he number one?
Did he? Yeah, but did he get it on like clearance after Joey's like first year in the NFL?
No, he got it as it came out, like authentic, down to his knees with the fitted. Came in Roosevelt Field. I was like, okay.
You remember
Okay.
working in the store? They'd always have that one rack of like jerseys of like players who didn't pan out to be good or got traded, and they'd be like 1999, and there'd be like dudes who'd always come in and buy them, and you'd see them like walking around the mall, and it'd be like the biggest like
who are some of the players who you would see in that rack?
it would just be like. While working in New England at the time, it'd be like old like Patriots linemen who got traded. Who it's not really like the coolest like jersey to have.
Jason Sehorn on the Giants was like a big one. Like
Yeah.
I
need names. Who
Yeah,
else?
Jason Sehorn. I think like Ron Dane. You'd see a lot of those at the Giant games, and it's like Marshalls was a big finish line, sure, and like the clearance racks. But Marshalls is like you can find some really old like
Some stinkers.
Mo Vaughn New York Mets baseball jerseys at Marshalls and Ross right now. Yeah. But Rudy had that Joey Harrington fitted out. The fitted
Not fit. Oh, the hat. Yeah,
fitted
yeah,
low.
yeah.
Fitted
I was gonna
low.
say, the fit was
Like,
a little
fuck
off
it,
on
though.
the jersey.
Yeah. Okay. And he had the jersey. Yeah. So, but go check out that interview.
Please do.
Shoes
please
we're
do.
wearing?
Yes, Welty. What do you got on feet?
First time breaking these out. The Stone Island New Balance. I like them.
Yeah, you tongue fucking it today so you can get the badge.
Yeah,
in
get
That's
there.
the
how he's
badge in.
feeling it. That's
There
how
you go.
he's feeling it. You know me. Arthur Carr Solomon's Art de la Automobile. I brought him back.
Are you gonna replace these in the rotation, Joe?
Those sold out. I know what you're talking about. Those sold
the
out.
Dover Street Market.
I need those.
Solomon collaboration.
The black
same
ones.
shoe.
Yeah, I need the
As
black
soon as
ones.
Welty saw those, he flagged them as a huge JLP shoe. Usually he's kind of off and or joking, some combination of the two when he says
No,
stuff like
when I
that,
saw
but
that
Yep.
was
this
He was
time.
on- he was on point with this one, and he was on point, and he went multi-platform. He went first to the Slack, tested the water of the reaction, then he went to the Twitter I saw. But yeah, I need those. Those sold out. I wonder if they have them in store. If not, Brian T has. If not, but we'll see. I need those black ones. But yeah,
We hope
doing
you get
Arthur
'em.
Carr.
We
yeah.
hope you get them. Off-white Air Jordan 5.
Come on.
sneaker of the year.
RIP
Come
Virgil.
on.
White laces in them.
It's in print. It's in the Complex Sneaker of the Year book. Forget the panel. Forget everything. It's in the book. Go get that book. It's still on Amazon. Amazon's still open. Barnes & Noble's still open. We wrote it with a lot of our colleagues. Mm-hmm. Love him. You know, he's on timing today. That's what happens when he, you know, like I always say, you guys got two shoes today. You put those on, he feels like Jordan.
The way you were saying that, Joe, you're like, it's still there. We wrote it was a lot like, who you think you are? I am.
Oh,
the bowler. Yeah.
I like that book. Did a good job. A lot
Classic.
of good writers.
Classic.
Okay, so more shoes. We talked about Supreme Dunks 3-packs. There's another 3-pack of collaborations coming out.
I thought you were going to say 3-pack of ass.
There's a 2-pack. Social Status,
Yes.
Mac Attacks.
Yes.
I like the shoes.
But you said that you don't like
I just don't
multiple
like
colorways.
Not every shoe is bad in multiple colorways, but I'm just not a big fan of like Nike's like new approach to everything, where
Why,
it's
you,
like
you think they
You
should
mean
give
for a
one to...
collaboration, you want it to be more special and not roll out in multiple
sometimes
colorways?
I would just prefer like the one shoe.
Yeah.
And I feel like when obviously there's exceptions to the rule, like Supreme Dunks over the years, etc. But I feel like more of the collaborations that have stood out over the years have typically been a singular shoe.
Yeah. More definitive.
Yeah, so you're like, oh, this is the collaboration. And I think maybe, and I'm not saying that people don't work hard on collaborations, but maybe if you have to whittle it down to one thing that's releasing.
Yeah, Whitner it down.
Yeah. Oh,
Look at
yeah.
him. Look at him.
Maybe it helps you decide on it, or I don't know, maybe put a little more into like being like, hey, this is my only shoe I'm going to drop, instead of like having to focus on.
Yeah.
It's essentially, in my opinion, the sneaker version of albums nowadays that they want to make them like 48 songs
for streaming.
Yeah, and it's like there's a lot more for the fan to listen to.
Yeah.
But maybe some of them
Could have been more selective.
Yeah.
Is there one other example that you have recently besides that one that, like, just to contextualize it?
I mean, Sachs.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Like they did like some. I totally forgot about this shoe. They did like those Cause Blazer lows.
Yeah, I remember those. Yeah.
They did them like
Forgettable shoe.
molded.
I definitely
in the maroon
bought
with the
those
blue.
on sneakers, being like, yeah, I'll take these to StockX in a couple of years and cash out. It's not going to be much more than $6 gross.
Yeah.
Net, I'm sorry.
The other one I thought too, I've mentioned it on here, was that like Ambush, like Adjust Force. If they just
You
dropped
just
it,
want one colorway.
yeah, just one, and just it makes it feel like this is the project.
Okay, that aside, do you like the social
I
status?
do,
Mac
I
attack?
do.
Yeah.
I think when I first saw it, PJ Tucker debuted it. There's that green and orange colorway, which I think maybe just stick with those. Not that the other colorways are bad, but I just want the one colorway.
Yeah.
And they look dope. They're like the mismatch.
Joe, are you excited about the return of the Mac Attack?
I like it. It's too white for me, though. But I think, like, they really... So the Travis was part of the rollout.
It does feel
years
like
back,
It does
right?
feel like the
We
long,
discussed
the,
this on here.
It
a while
was
ago.
like
yeah.
the
Go
longest-
read my story.
the
Like-
long, the longest inorganic.
That's what I'm
Nike
saying. That was
rollout.
a long time ago, and it had to be part of that,
Where
right?
they're like, we need a shoe to combat the 550.
You
What
think
is
the
it
Mac
gonna
Attack
be?
is in that lane?
Oh.
I mean,
It's not going to do what the 550 did.
no, but
Interesting. I never thought of the Mac Attack as a New Balance 550 parallel.
Me either.
I mean, look at
Now
it.
that you say it, I see it for sure.
It's
Yeah.
not going to do that, but that's a good point.
Yeah. I'm excited for the return of the Mac Attack. I think that there are some wonky colorways coming. Actually, speaking of Nike Talk, I think some people posted some CADs or some
like a
scans
brown
or some
orange one.
upcoming colorways, and it looks like, ooh, they just killed that thing real quick. But fortunately, the social status ones look premium and interesting.
It reminds me of like back in the day when they would do like the retro of the Agassi like Tech Challenge, and everyone's excited for the OG colorway, and then there's like a black and orange that comes out, and you're like, nobody wanted that.
Well, I hope the Mac Attack does well. I think it's a cool model that's never been back in its OG form before, so happy to have it back.
A lot of stuff to get to today.
That's true.
I see a box there.
That's true.
Obviously, the timing. Last week, we didn't get it to talk about the Tom Sachs.
Yes.
I was wearing the Tom Sachs shoes. We went home.
Terrible timing from both of y'all.
Yes.
Oh yeah, I ended up wearing
Him and
them.
FSR, and then I
How
went,
can you be so insensitive? It's like, dude.
But yes, one, not a lot of people commented about it. I know that you always have to address it. I get it, but I think people knew that it was recorded before. But anyway, then I wore them Monday. We shot early. We went home. We get a link in the Slack a few hours later, and we didn't get a chance to talk about it. And I know you wrote a piece on it, and it's been big news in the sneaker world and the art world and everything. And
Can I just say one thing? I have never called myself the Tom Sachs guy.
oh, now
I
you're
have
getting okay.
never. Let's just
Okay.
like. But this is the most. I know you guys have your little PSAs about. Yeah, all the news about Tom Sachs' toxic workplace came out after you wore the shoes. You know, and
That's
people
where
were
you're going
worried
with it?
that happened first. But remember that I have been publicly branded by my co-host over here on the right as the Tom Sachs
Yeah.
guy. Something I never ever called myself.
To be fair, no one comes up with nicknames for themselves, or else they don't stick.
Okay.
So
Counterpoint.
now that this news has
Yeah.
broken these allegations around Tom Sachs, I am flooded with questions about, are you still a Tom Sachs guy? And I owe that all to our friend Matt Welty.
Yeah, yeah. But they are very serious allegations.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
So a story by Curb describing a toxic workplace, creepy behavior toward women, violent outbursts, and an area in his studio called the Rape Room that's now been renamed. Pretty serious allegations. And then we had a follow-up story about this box issue that happened years ago on the Tom Sachs Nike Mars Yard 2.0 that we kind of uncovered for the first time. Just a lot of Tom Sachs related things coming out. I've spoken to a lot of people since this news broke. Somebody told me that when Nike SB did that Team Classic shoe, you remember they did the SB Team Classic
yep, in the
Mars
in the
Yard
Tom
looking
Sa-
colorway
yep.
that
Yeah.
Tom Sachs and his team freaked out about
Really?
it and were like super upset that somebody else within Nike was using this color scheme.
There was also that
Overbreak shoe,
overbreak that they did in the Tom Sachs colorway, and then
they released it with that kind of
they like
covered up.
They
Yeah.
sprayed the shoe, and then you could rub it away, and it would like.
Yeah. I think one of the big questions right now is, will Nike continue to work with Tom Sachs? And a lot of people have said they should be holding him to the same standard that they hold Kyrie Irving. And I
Okay.
think that in general, they should hold all their brand partners to the same standards, even if that might not be the reality of it and there are financial implications for them to consider. But I do think they should consider that, and that should be kind of the biggest thing is, does this person align with our brand values? And this is what we talked about with Kyrie Irving.
Yeah.
And I think when you have with Tom Sachs these allegations over many years, this isn't one issue. This is like a systemic thing with the studio he has and maybe with him as a person. I think that at that point, this person doesn't align with the brand's values and they're not the right brand partner, and you shouldn't continue to work with them, especially because like, I don't think there's a gigantic investment in Tom Sachs either for Nike to even consider.
It doesn't feel like they do a lot of marketing.
I mean,
Yeah.
they just made the new
And also
shoe
a lot
for
of the
him.
shoes that, besides the GPS shoe that is like everywhere,
Yeah.
a lot of like the Mars Yard, it almost is like
It was
they-
aftermarket.
They had like false starts a little bit. The 2.5 never came
And it's
out.
super limited stuff where it doesn't
Yeah.
constitute a significant amount of revenue.
Yeah.
They designed the new shoe for him in the GPS, and that takes an investment to open up the molds and things like that, but probably less than $100,000. So to me, there's enough there to be like, look, we shouldn't work with this person anymore. And I think that's the right decision. I don't know if that's going to happen. Somebody told me that the next colorway of the GPS is on pause for now while they kind
Yeah,
of
makes
That's that
sense.
like Rasta-ish one.
I'm not exactly sure of the colorway, but I think they're definitely stopping and questioning these things. And I think once upon a time, he would have maybe been more protected because if you remember, Tom Sachs came to Nike through former CEO Mark Parker, Mark being a patron of his and then being friends, and Mark tapping him to work on sneakers with Nike. Mark Parker's not there anymore. I don't think John Donahoe would have as much of a tendency to be like, no, we need to keep this guy around.
Yeah, and I feel like just in general, like over the years, I felt like Mark was more like connected to a lot of like the collaborators and
Yeah.
in general, and like wanting
A product guy.
Yeah, wanting to push certain people to work with the brand, where it seems like John Donahoe is more just like a bottom line sort of person.
Yeah, that's what it feels like to me. We did get the statement from Nike on this. I think we were the first ones. Actually, no, I know we were the first ones. Nike said, "We're deeply concerned by the very serious allegations. We're in contact with Tom and his studio seeking to better understand the situation and how these issues are being addressed."
One of the things that I guess came up were like, when something like this happens, working in sneakers, you're always going to get people who DM you and hit you up, like sending you links to certain things, And a lot of people I know, hit me up about this, and they're like, "Oh, I'm so disappointed by this happening," because a lot of people are like, "No, I can't wear my Tom Sachs shoes," and like I'm supporting someone that I don't align with. And I remember saying to people, I go, I know everyone's disappointed by this, but I don't want to say crazy part, but like the sad truth about it, I go, does it surprise you? I guess everyone was kind of like, wow, this really isn't that surprising. That it's not okay, but if they had to guess, this was going to happen
In terms
between
of Tom Sachs's character.
Yeah, they're like, oh, hearing the things that he did, they're like, wow, I guess that does make sense. And
Yeah.
And then you hit me the night after or the same night like the story broke, and you were like, check the box of the 2.0s.
Yeah.
And you subsequently did another story.
Yeah, so this is
If
a
you
story
want-
that we broke
yes.
that we were actually sitting on for a while now and hoping to talk to Tom about, but this news surfaced and we feel like it was the right time. So I want to bring out the box for the 2017 Nike Mars Yard 2.0.
Yeah.
So this is my personal pair that I got from 21 Mercer. And basically what happened with the 2017 Nike Mars Yard 2.0 is there was a message that they printed on the inside of the box that's a quote from this sculptor named Brancusi, who Tom Sachs is a fan of. And the quote includes the phrase, "work like a slave." And basically this shoe was about to release. They had the boxes printed up with this quote that the start of it is "work like a slave." I think the whole thing is "work like a slave, command like a king, create like a god." And it got to a point where it was about to release. Somebody flagged it and said, look, we can't release a sneaker that has the word slave on it or says work like a slave on it. We have to do something about this. So what Nike did back then, 2017, to cover it up was basically apply to the boxes some type of tape or something, rip off the writing, and then apply in its place this flap of duct tape, which this duct tape thing, like, would look weird on a different Nike shoe, right?
100%.
but somehow it fits his
The duct
aesthetic.
tape thing, and it's funny because I don't know the story behind this. I'm always like, they're in the closet, and I'm always like, the duct tape thing is such like a cool type of.
Yeah, it
and
like matches,
I'm like,
it's like this scrappy.
exactly.
shocking
I'm like,
thing.
the duct tape makes this box.
It's this
Little
weird
did I
like
know,
twist of fate or whatever that
Yeah.
like somehow aligns with his aesthetic that like
Yeah.
unintentionally builds the mystique behind the shoe.
Yeah, so I had heard about this years ago, had kind of been waiting to look into it further, and then when this happened, really dug into it. And one of the things I did was reach out to a seller of fake Mars yards because I had seen once before a fake box for the shoes that had the full quote.
Where did you see that? If you could remember, like a where?
It was on IG, just a random one, and I was like, oh my God, I found the infamous box with the full quote. And this makes total sense to me because if you were a producer of fake shoes,
You would have had the early
earlier
prototype
version.
yeah,
or
you
whatever.
would have had the specs
mimicked
to
it.
make
Yeah.
the original box and not the last minute instruction from Nike, hey, we can't put out this box that says work like a slave on it. Again, it's part of a full quote from the sculptor Brancusi. And I was very, very convinced too, because if you go on Tom Sachs' website, there's some old writing about how he appreciates this sculptor and developed a personal relationship with his work in college. So basically, I reached out to a fake seller and I was bothering them about the shoes, and they were like, we don't have a photo of the box. Eventually, I got a photo from them of the box, and the fake boxes have the full quote in broad daylight on there. And so I was like, this is a thing. And then I peeled back the tape on my pair, and we didn't put out the photos of this because it's very hard to see, but I'm going to pass the box around, and you can see the faint writing. You can see some of the K's. You can see the word create there very faintly. Joe, if you want to take a look at it
saw,
and
yeah.
then pass it to Welty and let me know how
Yeah,
well
Welty,
you can
I'm
see it.
interested to. I definitely see.
It's hard to get.
Yes, you have
with
to-
a camera.
I haven't seen this before yet.
Yeah.
So
I mean, you could definitely see
You can see some of the letters.
the
right?
letters right
Yeah.
there. No matter what, yeah.
And Nike deserves some small amount of credit because at the last minute they decided we can't put this out.
yeah, I mean, someone did still make the decision early on at Nike that like okayed it. It's not like Tom
Exactly.
manufactured the boxes himself.
Exactly. So peel the tape back on there, Welty, and let me know
Have
how
you ever
many of the
seen these
letters you can
before?
see.
What do you mean?
Have you ever seen what he's talking about?
No.
Can you see it?
You see a K, you see like an E down there.
Oh yeah. Oh, so it's written in the same like,
Font.
Yeah, the same text as appears elsewhere on the
So
box in this like
is-
Tom Sachs.
I never knew. Do you have an answer to this? So was this printed by? Was this written or?
No, it's printed on the
Printed.
box.
Okay,
yeah.
I didn't because
Yeah.
it looks like it was actually.
It looks like a marker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Someone from
Okay.
Nike told me a story about, them having to go through hundreds of boxes right before the release and removing the text from them.
It looks almost like, in some extent, like you're some ancient like archaeologist. Like,
I wanted to get
peeling
like
the
a
white
black
gloves.
light or
Yeah.
do
Yeah.
some forensic
Yeah.
analysis. Again, we're not going to put too many photos of that in here because if you see the photos, it doesn't photograph
Yeah,
well and
yeah.
I look like a conspiracy theorist. But, it all adds up basically. And like I said, I think Nike deserves some amount of credit for
just for the last second being like, whoosh.
stopping it, but also how many layers of approval did this get through? Like, to get like this, like you
Yeah.
were sending these shoes out. Somebody who works at a factory had to print on this box, work like a slave.
Also feels like to some extent though that these like smaller projects aren't involved with as many people.
Right? Maybe it being in a different department helped it have less eyeballs on it
Yeah,
or something like
it's
that.
just like a small team that tends to do this sort of stuff.
Yeah. And I think the work like a slave thing looks particularly bad when you consider that this original curved expose was about the psychotic workplace that Tom Sachs created.
Yeah, well, I guess the biggest thing that with Nike is that there's always been like allegations, and it's always one of the comments that like will always come up when you work in the footwear space of like, how can you support these brands when they essentially use what some people equate to slave labor to manufacture the shoes, and especially in the past few years where there's been all the allegations towards Nike with the Uyghurs and
Yeah.
Western China, to most accounts, being kind of held against their will to make these shoes. So that in the full context
Yeah.
of the scope like looks particularly bad for Nike.
I was a little bit surprised, and maybe this was me, thinking my own work would travel further, but I thought maybe that this story would blow up and this would put more pressure on Nike to drop Tom Sachs. I'm a little surprised that there isn't more conversation. Do y'all think Nike's going to end up stopping their partnership with Tom Sachs? I would think so at this point.
It's going to be on
Yeah.
pause for a while.
Yes.
And I think that it's going to be on pause for a while. And I think that before the GPS shoe, he popped in and out very, very inconsistently with the Mars Yard. The overshoe, basically released, didn't really, it released. Then the 2.5, which had the cover on it, Remember those?
Yeah,
Those never
I mean,
released.
The buried lead that I put in that story that we reported last week was they're working on a Mars Yard 3.0. Nobody really picked up that story, but you know, there's a Mars Yard 3.0 coming. Whether or not they scrap it, I don't know.
And the Mars Yard is like, you know, the hero product for the collaboration between Tom Sachs and Nike. But those GPSs that were built on, we're just going to keep replenishing them. Everyone's going to get them. They're going to constantly restock. And to be honest, you see that GPS shoe all over. I see it all over.
Yeah.
That is where the pause, you're going to feel the pause. Those restocked so often already, and I don't think we're going to see like those get replenished and those newer models come out, new colorways come out in the near future.
I think maybe touch on a couple things right here is where I think, first of all, the Tom Sachs becoming like one of the top tier people at Nike as far as collaborations go was never like a planned process. It doesn't feel like it felt like more of like an organic thing that happened over
Nobody
time.
cared about his shoes for a long time.
Yeah, and then like all of a sudden they just had this like moment and they just like astronomically like went up.
Yeah.
So it's not like you said investment or whatnot. It's not like Tom Sachs was pursued and billed by Nike as this like this is what the core of our brand is and this is who we're like hitching our sled to, you know, where it's not like LeBron or Kyrie where these people were established as the people. So I don't know how much like Nike like was invested in the idea.
Yeah, but it should make dropping him a simpler decision, right?
I guess easier. But the thing that I said, I've thought that, and we talked about a little bit where you talk about like public outrage. It just makes you realize sometimes that like sometimes these corners of sneaker world are more niche than you think they are, where we all know who Tom Sachs is. A lot of people buy his shoes, maybe don't even know that Tom Sachs is an artist or whatnot, but he's not as mainstream as other like
a Travis Scott
or like
Kyrie Irving.
or Kyrie Irving, where it's people only in the sneaker world really who care about this, and then it's like a even smaller percentage of people in the sneaker world. So I guess maybe that's why you don't see this like public outrage or these huge like
I thought it was going to be a bigger
call out
story.
tweets. Like it just seems like it's happening. I'm not saying I'm not giving a pass or anything like that, but it doesn't really feel like
as much fallout.
There's like feet to the fire on Nike's half where anyone's like forcing their hand.
I mean, also to compare it to NBA players, it's a little different. They have like such a big kid
for
audience,
sure. That's,
you know,
for sure.
But yeah, I think the shoot like the Mars Yard, they were sitting on shelves like you said, and then it feels like the cool guys section got a hold of them and really blew them up, and like they became super hyped. But I think that again, where it seems like they were trying to get away from making the hyped Mars Yards and in favor of a more general release shoe, which they did. To me, it seems like Nike and Tom Sachs wanted the shoes everyone have them.
Yeah.
That's where you're gonna feel it
in terms of the void. If they slow
like
it down or when
like
they
they literally took the limited aspect of the Mars Yard
Took it out
and
of
like
it.
flipped it
like a
to this
people's
GPS
champion
shoe
shoe,
to have as many people wearing it, and tons of people were. I just said it.
Yeah.
Tons of people were wearing it, and now we'll see what's going to happen. I don't think we're going to see them.
Well, I guess one of the other biggest conversation, aside from Tom Sachs's allegations over the weekend, was a lot of people kind of, I guess, wrestling with that idea of, hey, he did all this like crappy stuff that I don't align with, but I have the shoes. Can I still wear them? I saw like a lot of that chatter on the internet.
People were asking me that. I'm not going to wear
People said that
the
about
shoes.
Yeezys too. I'm not going to wear like. You just
do you think that when you see someone wearing any of these products by not just Tom Sachs but any of the creators that are deemed no longer like a persona non grata in the public sphere, do you feel if you see someone in the product that maybe they just don't know or don't care or they're like trying to make a statement by wearing the shoe? Or
I always assume that they are either ignorant of the allegations or they don't care. I never think that someone's trying to make a statement with that. I know what you mean because I feel like we're hyper aware of it and hypersensitive of like, I don't want to wear the Tom Sachs shoe right now because I don't agree with who he is as a person based on these descriptions. But I think other people don't go through those thought processes.
And I agree, because I have friends who were like literally on spring break with their kids like 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks, when like they were off from work, and they were like post on Instagram and they're wearing Yeezys, and I'm like, there's no way that like there's no way they're just too far removed from it, or it's not a thought to them.
Yeah.
But making a statement, like, I don't think so.
And I think the Tom Sachs stuff is interesting too, because so much of what is described does not overlap directly with his Nike work, but there are shreds of it. So in the original Curb report, there was a description that he showed up to a virtual Nike meeting with some women on the call, just in his underwear. And his studio said in response, like, that's a normal part of these quote unquote virtual fittings. Definitely kind of weird. But then I think the box thing that we published is more directly implicated in terms of Nike. And again, I can't believe that you would put the word slave on a box. You know, like you go to Nike ID or Nike by You, as it's called now, and there are many, many words that you can't even put on a shoe. You're not even allowed to like mock it up. And it's just kind of that level of tone deaf of I don't know, maybe it sounds like I'm trying to blow it up because it's my own scoop, but I'm just like, how does that happen? I couldn't find those answers, but I'm still interested in them.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see.
Anyways.
Yeah.
Can we talk about StockX for a while? There's some StockX stuff that I want to discuss.
Oh, yeah, there was an update?
38 fake shoes.
Yeah, there was a new redacted document published last week that breaks down in some detail where this fake sneakers from the StockX lawsuit came from. One interesting revelation that was actually tucked away in an old transcript is that StockX is implicated in this now too, because some of the fake shoes that that Nike is highlighting in their lawsuit with StockX were from his hoard that you know that's been seized or whatever. So like that's an interesting part. But then this other thing in this redacted document, and it's hard to understand exactly what happened, but Nike kind of describes this event where some reseller and collector bought a bunch of pairs of shoes from StockX, and they had in that group 38 pairs of fake shoes. I actually found the person and talked to them. We published a story on this on Complex, and they said that they bought for an investment around 60 pairs. I think it was UNC ones, Mocha ones, things like that, and 38 pairs were fake. What a nightmare. Like, whenever I hear these fake...
Like over 50%.
You know, whenever I hear these stories about fake sneakers on StockX, I always, say to myself, well, it depends on how many fakes there are per 100, per 1,000. But
I think Josh Luber said that to us early on.
Yeah, but when you hear a story
right?
like that, it's like, oh my God, that's a systemic problem, and that's what.
How many did he buy?
Well, he's a reseller, so let me get the exact number here. Actually, where is he? He bought 62 pairs.
And 38 were fake?
62 pairs
From
and 38 failed in one order, yeah. He was trying to get support from StockX. He eventually did get a refund, but...
Is that from one seller, or like he?
I don't know. You don't know on the other end of this purchase,
It's
right?
crazy because I'm not here to give it like a pass or anything, but imagine, I guess, just the way that like the production line works, where there's like one verifier who they do a ton of shoes. There was the story out there, years ago, where like the person signed up to work at StockX, and they got mad that they had to verify X amount of shoes, and that DMX Rough Riders anthem was playing all day in the in the warehouse. But if you have one person who can't, for whatever reason, like get right like this one thing, and they continuously make this one mistake, but you don't realize, and then they do 150 pairs of shoes in a day or whatever, then all of a sudden, realistically, especially if they're all the same model, could have,
how many fake shoes could be going out to people?
Just
That's
from
a lot.
simple mistake. And it's, I'm not saying that I think it's okay that fake shoes get out there, but verifying shoes is tough, because it's not like this, like, there obviously are cues to this is real, this isn't, but it isn't just like this easily like checkable process that you'd be like, no, 100% for sure that this is real or not.
I think that this lawsuit that StockX has, could have walked away from a while ago, and maybe could have settled when it was just an NFT thing, but this lawsuit has exposed this fundamental flaw, this idea in StockX's business. And I kind of was talking to this seller, who got these fake pairs about this, where like actually 100% authentic is not something you can claim unless you're the brand. That is too elusive for an outside entity to ever claim. And that's why StockX is making the shift to verify, to say, look, These shoes, we can't.
Even though Scott Cutler wouldn't have admitted it on our podcast.
I mean, we asked him the question. We did our best. But, like, this exposes that there's this idea that the shoes are 100% authentic, but nobody can say that unless they're Nike. So if you're a third party, the best you can do is say they're verified by StockX. This is what that means. These are all the things that we do for that. And if you don't like it, send the shoes back to us.
Well, I think it really highlights with Scott being on here and talking about scale, where it's just, it's not easy to scale this stuff.
Yeah.
And to think that, and I don't want to put words in anyone's mouth, but to just think you can come in and just scale it without having any of these problems, I think is indicative of someone who may not be as versed in the sneaker world as maybe they want to present themselves as.
Yeah.
And just, all of a sudden having bulletproof experts who are going to never get anything wrong is the expectation, when not everyone who's doing these like verifying jobs is like, this is going to be like their lifelong career. For some of them, it's just like, I like shoes. Oh, come in,
Yeah.
And
Did the reseller say over what period of time he bought those
So
amount of pairs? Like, that seems like StockX in the court is probably going to have to have a defense. What, 38 out of how many? 72?
60.
That's
62 pairs.
so.
of
I would
38
like to know
failed.
how long purchased, if it was like one big
That
bulk.
was in a batch because basically
They were all similar shoes, right?
this reseller, so it was UNC ones, Mocha ones, and Hyper Royal ones. Because this reseller told me basically, quote, they had kind of dipped in the market and they were feeling like, oh, what a great opportunity. I'll buy a bunch of these on StockX. He said, so I bought, I want to say, 60 to 70 pairs of these on StockX, and at the time, it got delivered over a span of 3 to 4 weeks. And by the way, I want to put one disclaimer on this. When I first discovered this, and I had tweeted about it saying, oh, I want to figure out who this person is who turned snitch for Nike in the StockX lawsuit. A bunch of people got upset about it, because I guess that's what you do on Twitter, is make up
upset about
lies or
everything.
get fake upset about things or dunk on people or whatever. So they were like, oh, how could you call this guy a snitch? He's helping out. Yes, if that happened to me, I would do the same thing. Yes, of course. It was a joke. And even the guy said he didn't care that I joked about him being a snitch. So if he's not mad about it, you're not allowed to be mad about it. But almost immediately when I put that out, somebody hit me back and being like, this is who the person is. Reached out to him. We talked about it. He had posted a lot about this stuff on his IG to get StockX or someone else to take notice, because I think, as we know, it's very hard to get a real response from StockX on some of these things.
Like we see that a lot, where it's like almost like weekly, daily tagged into some sort of consumer complaint with StockX.
Yeah. And this is a person who spent over $1 million on StockX and was still having trouble getting like a resolution to his issue. And basically,
crazy.
Yeah, he's a reseller, and he said this is how it works for him. Quote, if you're able to get the bulk volume discount and you have a proper business set up, you get a reseller certificate, you get sales tax submitted, so you can buy these things with a high bid and then drop them off at your consignment store, unquote. So that's the type of arbitrage they were doing, where basically in 2022, the financials or the taxes, and if you ran your business right, you would buy a bunch of stuff on StockX, unload it at the consignment store, and then make money off the difference. So he got 62 pairs. He was checking them on these apps, like Check and things like that, where you submit some photos and see 38 of them were fake, and at that point, it's like a systemic issue. There's something wrong with the way that's too many.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
But also, to be fair, I'm not giving StockX a pass or anything, but those apps aren't 100% themselves either.
sure.
Because I've had people. I had someone hit me up and they were trying to tell me something about their sabotage dunks, and I'm like, dude, those are so fake. And he's like, no, they passed on check, and I'm like, well, I don't care, dude, they're fake.
yeah. So, the guy even said, he said, quote, I really like StockX. I really think they're actually a critical part of the sneaker accessibility, and I believe in the concept. The problem is they've never been held accountable for the way they've handled this stuff. Also, like, when he finally got the refund, when he sent them back to StockX, presumably these just become somebody else's problem of, like, if they get sent back to the seller and they're fake, then somebody else somewhere down the line who is not as, keen as this person or doesn't have the right set of eyes or protocols to check them is going to get a pair of fake shoes. And basically, this guy told me that he'll still buy stuff on StockX, but he'll stay away from the problematic SKUs, which he says UNC ones, Hyper Royal ones, Mocha ones,
Stuff that's
white on
made
white
in-
Air Force
stu-
ones.
Stuff that's made in mass units to try and bootleg.
Yeah.
Like real gray market sort of stuff.
Yeah. So, I mean, That's it. Like I said, it's a nightmare. If I bought 38 pairs of shoes from StockX, I'd be doing nearly everything in my power as well to get that money back.
Yeah.
I mean, I might stop short of like showing up at a deposition for it, but I don't know. And I can say unequivocally that StockX has reputational problems right now. And, we said that to Scott Culler, StockX CEO, when he was sitting on this program. So I do wonder how these endless scandals will affect StockX once they're a public company. And, that could just like hurt the stock price.
And they haven't responded to obviously they haven't responded to this exact claim, but it'll come out in court. I'm really interested to see what they say. 38 out of 62.
Yeah, and
And you said that there's certain models that are created at mass, like what, just like fully GRs? Is that what you're talking about?
Well, there's just certain shoes that like big like releases of like
Big
popular
volume,
shoes. I mean, imagine like a Panda Dunk or something like
Got
that.
it, got it.
People are. They're not going to put as much effort into trying to like recreate these like super niche like limited collaborations, or to try and resell.
I want to keep going on this for a little bit. There's one funny quote here, and I know Welty likes this one. This is from the judge in one of these.
Oh yes, this is great.
One of these meetings between the two parties where they're going over the case, and the judge says, "Quote: I remember this involves non-fungible tokens, which I thought were done. I thought we were done with them, but my law clerk tells me no. That at least boys in college still think they're important."
That's funny.
And it's an amazing quote, and the judge is really funny if you read the transcripts. But also, it highlights to me, and this is something I drew from my conversation with this reseller who's involved in the lawsuit. Is remember this lawsuit started over NFTs, which now nobody cares about. StockX's NFTs.
If they had gone back in time, and be like, hey, you shouldn't do an NFT, and then
or even like let's settle with Nike earlier over this NFT thing. Instead, they've picked the strangest hill to die on, which what was originally an NFT lawsuit that again, nobody wants to buy NFTs from StockX, in my opinion. And it could have gone away, it feels like, at that point. But instead, they held on to it. Nike brought in the fake shoes. And now every couple of months, there's a new headline and a new piece of evidence about the fake shoes getting through on StockX. And it's like, this is what you wanted to hold on to? This is over the NFT thing? Like,
yeah, it's
what a
funny.
terrible look.
Are you right about NFTs?
No. Or, I mean, NFTs are dumb, but...
Okay.
But although Nike doesn't call them NFTs when Nike... Yeah.
Funny, full circle moment, I guess. We're talking about fake shoes getting passed around, and it's funny because we haven't discussed it on here, but we were talking about Bred Jordan 4s.
Yep.
There's been this infamous pair of fake off-white Bred Jordan 4s that keeps on getting passed around the internet. It's
Yeah.
What's
the latest?
To me, it's like a fake artifact, where it's like
What was it? 600,000 on eBay.
people
and then it was
are
at a
all like,
sneaker
oh,
convention
this
at
one
first?
shoe, and the shoe's like so cooked that like it's been worn and worn. And
I don't trust those at all.
Yeah, and
If Arthur Carr didn't wear them,
Exactly.
was
if
talking.
Shannon Abloh didn't wear them,
Yeah,
Talking to our friend
yeah.
PG, and he's way more in tune to that like high end world, and he's like, dude, that shoe has like changed hands like 11 times in the
He got
past
the GPS
like
tracker on it.
2
No
months
Tom
because
Sachs.
he's
Yeah.
so aware of it. And then I had people hitting me up months ago being like, hey, can you get Complex to post? I'm like, dude, your shoe's fake. I'm not posting it.
you told them that?
Yeah. And he's like, no, it's not. I have proof. And I go, well, I have proof too that your shoe's fake. And then he just like scampered off like roaches.
What's
But-
your proof?
called him a
PG, you're gonna
roach.
call PG in for a sworn deposition?
Just funny that like
You
it
got
just
a StockX authenticator at hand?
people keep on trying to pass hands.
Who are you
pass
calling
hands.
on the stand if you get into a case with that? You calling Arthur Carr first or PG knows?
Why not both?
Okay.
And that's an
More
interesting
means the
thing to
better.
bring up because again, it goes back to this
Yeah.
question of who can define authenticity. To me, only the brand can.
Yeah.
Anybody else, whether it's StockX, eBay, Goat, it's nebulous.
I think it's
Have you bought a
interesting.
lot off StockX?
I've sold more on StockX than I bought on StockX, but I have bought on StockX, and I probably will still in the
I'm wondering
future.
if we've
but
ever gotten a fake pair.
don't even say. It stresses me out even thinking.
I think it's
about it.
interesting. I guess just wearing these shoes just remind me of it. I always thought
Let
it
me
was
see if that was legit.
No, it's interesting. I think
You gonna do a
these don't
legit
have
hit
it.
on Welty right
These
here?
don't have it, but I always thought it was one of the best things that a brand had ever done to combat fakes. So all Stone Island jackets have this like QR code, essentially woven
Those
into
look good, man.
woven into the garment.
Yeah, on the
that
label.
where you can go on the website and scan it, and it will show you exactly what. I'm sure you can somehow fudge that, but it would show you exactly where the item was bought from. Like I bought my first Stone Island jacket at Century 21,
Mm-hmm.
and it asked you where the item was purchased and everything to like see if it lines
You're
up.
checking it on the QR code.
Yeah, to where on the website, and it wouldn't have had registered at Century 21 because they weren't the original retailer of it,
Right.
but was actually able to track the jacket down to a store in an airport in Dusseldorf, Germany.
Oh,
And it like, and that
Yeah,
to me,
yeah, yeah.
like, and I looked the store up and I'm like, no, this is a real store.
Yeah.
So maybe there are ways to fake that and it's not 100% definitive, but it was interesting to see a brand go through like those levels to really to prove authenticity to the consumer.
Yeah, well, I think Nike does have a process like that, and it's
Yeah.
something that's been hinted at a lot in the lawsuit. But Nike, of course, wants to protect that because if any of that information ever got out, it would help counterfeiters. So Nike has some way to confirm legitimacy and authenticity of its products. Unfortunately, we'll probably never get that in the public because it's such a trade secret. So, it's hinted at and it's redacted here and there.
It's just annoying because like the brand knows, but maybe like the consumer doesn't know. You
Yeah.
know, like there's always all these tricks, like you see like the black light.
we
might have
almost
to do
bought
the
a black.
black light
Yeah,
on
I
the
almost
Tom
bought.
Sachs
I asked
box.
back in the
for
day.
the box. I asked if someone had a
Back in the day with the SBs, not all of them, but there was like the little secret. It's like the production date had to touch the SKU or the barcode.
Mm-hmm.
If it didn't, if there was a gap between it, they weren't real. It was like these little like tricks that you learned.
Speaking of Stone Island, before we get out of here, I bought my first pair of Stone Island pants,
Yeah,
and I'm wearing those on Monday's episode.
excited.
And when Monday's episode drops,
Monday's episode of Sneaker Shopping?
yeah,
Any hints?
no hints, but
Okay. It's a big one. just smiling at the camera.
do we have anything else?
I do have one more thing. One
Okay.
request. Welty,
Oh, what?
since you bestowed this title upon me, and
Are you asking me to like publicly uncurse you?
yeah, I'm wondering if you can relieve me from this title, since apparently it's not something I can relinquish myself. Will you officially take away from me, for the public record here on air, the title of Tom Sachs guy?
I think you've come full circle
Thank you.
on your Tom Sachs fandom
Thank you.
in not digging the new work and then publicly disavowing him.
And holding them accountable.
Yeah.
And getting the only comment from the record on Nike on the matter.
I think maybe you've un-Tom Sachs guy yourself.
And you
I'll say that.
un-Tom Sachs me.
Yeah, you're no longer the Tom Sachs guy.
You have. Well, thank God we got through that. He really started all the way back at Space Camp.
No, I appreciate that.
Okay,
I
look,
appreciate
there you
that.
have
and
it.
in all seriousness, some pretty foul stuff that
Yeah,
he's
like
accused
No,
of.
not making- not
not
making-
a
Yeah,
laughing matter.
Yeah.
All right, I think we caught up, right?
Yeah.
All right, everyone.
Sometimes we get a little behind, but we'll be right back.
So we can-
if some breaking news happen, trust me, we'll be here the next week with the scoops and all the details.
Absolutely covering it in detail. All right, everyone. This has been the Complex Sneakers Podcast. We hope everyone has a great weekend. Please like, subscribe. We will see you next week.